Welcome to Stories That Made Alliance, and today we are at the Mabel Hartzell home, and we are with Michelle Dillon, who is the Vice President of the Alliance Historical Society and former president, and been doing this kind of thing for a number of years, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I first got involved with the Historical Society thanks to my good friend Karen Perrone, and it's been probably about 11 years ago, so she got me good.
And now you're stuck.
I'm hooked. I am hooked. I love it.
But you love history, obviously, anyway.
I do. I was a librarian for many years, and I always enjoyed doing local history research, and I do genealogy research and help other people. And so this just was a natural fit when a position opened up on the board, and I got to learn to love this beautiful home.
All right. So how old is this home?
According to our records, this home was built in 1867, so it's way more than 150 years old right now. So
probably one of the oldest in Alliance?
Not the oldest, but there are very few homes from this era that are still as well preserved as this one. There are some older homes. I know that the Haynes house is older, and we still have part of the Hester home down in the old Village of Freedom.
Okay.
They're off of Hester Avenue, which are probably more in the 1820s, 1840s. So there are some homes that are this old, but this one is exceptionally well preserved.
Right, thanks to the Alliance Historical Society and all the many volunteers
Amen.
that help out here. So we are in what room right now?
This is the room that we call the sitting room. It's kind of a double wide room, so it's extra large, and we figure that this is where the family probably spent most of their quality time in the house. This is where they would have read their papers or did some singing or musical things. You just never know. But exactly. No, this isn't their piano, but it's on display.
But it's showing,
here. Yes.
Giving us the feel
this was
of what
where the
it might
family
be like.
lived.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it has one of the 7 fireplaces.
Absolutely.
That are located throughout the house.
You know, you think of houses and you think, oh, it would be incredible to have a home with one Italian marble fireplace. This house has 7 of them, so 1 in each of the 3 bedrooms and 4 of them on the main floor. So it was quite an example of architecture in its day, and continues to this day.
Okay. Well, can you tell us a little bit about the history that you know of about the Mabel Hartzell home?
Sure, I would be glad to. As I mentioned, it was built in 1867, and we call it now the Mabel Hartzell Historical Home, but it was actually built by a gentleman by the name of Early. So you might hear it called the Early House or the Early-Hartzell Home. Same house. Matthew Early was a local businessman. He grew up in Smith Township, so just on the outskirts of Alliance. And he was apparently a very successful guy. He had a tannery, he raised crops, he had interests in several businesses in Alliance. He was a city councilman, and he and his wife built this home in 1867. They were not blessed with any children. They never had any children of their own, but they had an opportunity in about 1885 to adopt a little girl named Mabel Hartzell. And she kept her Hartzell name, but she lived here from her time as a child, and then after her adoptive parents passed away, she continued to live in the house. And really, those are the only 3 people who ever lived in this home. When Mabel passed away at the end of 1954, she willed her beautiful home to the Alliance Historical Society, which she helped to found.
Wow.
And she was just an incredible lady, just an incredible person. She was a teacher, and education was her life. She dedicated her life to it. And she was also the first woman elected to the Alliance City School Board, and that was several years before women had the general right to vote. So that is impressive.
That's a very interesting fact. Mm-hmm. Right, okay. All right, so when people come here for tours, they're going to see a lot of different things, but a couple things that we wanted to feature today was the Wooten Desk. So tell us about that.
Yes, the Wooten Desk is probably our most unique piece of furniture. It is a rather large desk. It's on wheels. It has a lock, very ornate. And I find this kind of curious because Mr. Wooten was actually a person of the Quaker faith. He was a Quaker preacher, and he patented this desk about 1874, and they were rather in vogue up until about 1901 or so. So it had a nice little run, but it was really much of a status symbol, because if you do any research on the scions of industry, you will find that John D. Rockefeller had a Wooten desk. So they were a little bit ornate, and I tend to refer to it as the laptop computer of 1900 because it had 110 different cubby holes to store things in. So if you needed to organize your files as a businessman back
all your
in
folders and files.
exactly.
That's cool.
So it's very unique, and we have an article that talks about the Wooten Desk, and it said that in the 1960s there were less than 4 of them in the whole state of Ohio. I don't know what the current status is, but we are very privileged to have one.
Okay. All right. In the same room that they would find that, they're also going to find a picture of Mrs. Lamborn.
Well, yes, it's a Lamborn picture for sure. And of course, here in Alliance, we know the name Levi Lamborn for his association with the naming of our state flower, the scarlet carnation. Well, Mr. Lamborn had 7 children, and they all had the initials LLL. And the oldest child was Lessetta Lydia Lamborn. And we find that she was something of an artist. She lived in Cleveland for part of her life, and the story as to how we came to get this this piece of art is most interesting. One of our longtime society members happened to be taking something out of a frame at his house, and typically you would pull out all the extra papers that are behind the picture. Well, he stuck his hand inside the frame and felt something, and it came out, and he had chalk all over his hands. And so it's like, wow, what's this? Luckily, he slowed down and took it out very carefully. It was a chalk drawing, and the drawing was signed by Lessetta Lamborn, and she married a Fletcher. But this was one of Levi's daughter's chalk drawings, and we believe that the subject of the portrait, it's a beautiful portrait of a beautiful young woman. We believe that the subject is Lessetta's daughter, who would be Levi's granddaughter. So it's beautiful. It's
amazing that a chalk drawing that he was.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. How it got there, we don't know that story yet. But luckily, this member of the Historical Society recognized how important this was, had it reframed professionally, and it now hangs proudly in our sitting room.
Okay. All right. Also, recently you've done some paranormal research. Tell us about that.
Oh, yes. How interesting. We were contacted by a group called Rogues Hollow Paranormal, and the folks, they were out of Louisville, I believe is where they lived, even though Rogues Hollow, I think, is in another county.
Okay.
But they are local ghost hunters, and they contacted us, said, gee, we'd really love to come and do some readings. They have all kinds of electronic equipment and light meters and different things. And so we said, well, let's give it a try. It's not something we'd ever done before. And we had 2 mediums come as part of the group, and plus they had their equipment. And they went all around the house and took some readings. They got some electronic voice indications, and you really have to watch the video to see. But,
and where could somebody see that video?
Well, I think it's probably available through the Historical Society's Facebook page. I know that if you search for Rogues Hollow Paranormal, you will definitely find it there. So it's just adds a little more depth, and without giving away the whole show, they did run into some things here, but everything was friendly. There was nothing
Good
nothing
to
sinister.
know.
It was very positive, and again, we don't expect there to be a lot of ghosts here because there were only 3 people who ever lived here. So probably just the family curious as to what all these people are doing in their home. So it's definitely worth checking out, and it was a lot of fun to do.
Okay, that does sound like it would be kind of fun, interesting.
Yes.
Anything else that you wanted to mention?
I'll just say that we think the house is a real gem. It is on the National Register of Historic Places, which is a national program through the Parks Department, and it's been there since 1987. And I really think that the reason the house is on the National Register is twofold. One is first because of the architecture, beautiful Victorian Italianate architecture, which kind of makes it distinctive and significant. But the other half is Mabel Hartzell. Mabel was such a dynamic person, lifelong educator, school board member, a founder of the Alliance Women's Club, the Red Cross chapter here in Alliance, the Alliance Historical Society, many organizations. She contributed greatly to this community, and I don't want to forget to mention her association with the house as being one reason why it's significant
still here and still it's significant to Alliance.
Yeah.
Also, I think we need to give a shout out to your volunteers. How many volunteers do you have here?
Oh goodness, well we have 15 board members, and those 15 board members get drafted to be volunteers, let me tell you. But we also have probably another 15 or 20 people who are regular volunteers who will help lead tours or weed the garden or rake leaves or whatever we need done. So they kind of cycle on and off, but we have a larger membership. We'd love to get more people activated. If anyone's interested in becoming a tour guide, just give us a shout out, and I'll be glad to do the docent training.
Okay. Well, last month on the program we talked a lot about some changes that are coming that have to do with this home and other historical sites in Alliance. But for right now, what are the tour times, or how do they schedule a tour?
Well, right now we're trying something different. We've been collaborating with the Haynes House folks, the Preservation Society, and also Castle Crusaders. And people who love history. And so we have 3 beautiful historic homes in Mabel Hartzell and the Haynes House and Glamorgan Castle. So we are trying for the first time doing tours at the same time or on the same days, so that people can visit more than one of the houses at a time on the same date. So the first weekends of, let's see, March, April, and May, we are doing tours on Saturdays and Sundays, and you can check our website for the ability to schedule a tour. You can always do that anytime, and if the times that we have scheduled don't work for someone, all they need to do is contact us, and we will do tours by appointment anytime, any place. So we tend to do more tours now in conjunction with the Haynes House and Glamorgan Castle to kind of capitalize on the market for people who want to see historic places.
That's
so
exciting.
You'll see lots more of that coming. We expect to do a lot more tours in sequence over the summer.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for all you do here and in the community, and thanks for being with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome, Kyle. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you for watching. I'm Kyle Schwarz.
Thank you for watching Stories That Made Alliance, a monthly production featuring historic places and events in the Carnation City.